This has published this book. It has 90% fewer man oysters than our previous reader.
Only 90%.
We'll try to fit some in, though. So, this is from the second chapter called Where to Begin. I begin to test the waters for my bizarre book idea, going to trusted sources of wisdom like my friend Justin. At a cookout, I pitched my prospective book to my friends, who received the idea with a mixture of approbation, head-scratching, and disparagement. But what's it about, Justin asks. It's about publishing the book, I explain. That's what I'm saying. It's not about anything but my struggle to publish the very book I'm writing. Okay, he says, but what's in it? This is in it. This is all the book is about. This conversation right now is in the book. That sounds boring as shit, he says. But that's the point. It should be boring, but it won't be. It will be hilarious just because it's such a ridiculous concept. Another friend asks, wait, so am I in your book? Yes, I say, although now I think I'll put all of you together as some type of anonymous composite character so as not to inflate your egos. Markley, says another, this whole idea is just completely retarded. Ah, I say wisely, there are no retarded ideas, only the retarded people who come up with the ideas. Footnote. This is very heavily researched, so there are a ton of footnotes. Let me stop this scintillating narrative right here to explain that I don't like taking notes, or recording the people I interview, or really even listening to what any of my idiot friends have to say. So just consider all dialogue in this book to be an approximate representation of what was actually stated, the gist, and I apologize profusely if I slander anyone by wildly misrepresenting what he or she said. For instance, if my friend Cato actually said to me, Steve, I think your book idea is intriguing but a bit unwieldy, yet I quote him in my book as saying, Steve, I hate Chinese people, I would certainly say I'm sorry. That's just the way the kitten bathes and shaves, so sue me. And actually, I'm told by my lawyers that a lawsuit is a strong possibility, and by lawyers, I mean this guy Phil I know who's planning to go to law school. I can't judge the idea, my friend Dave tells me, because I have no idea what the finished product will look like. It's impossible to say if it's a good or bad idea because it all depends on what the book ends up being like. But you can't see it first, I explain. That's the point. You just have to not like it or like it based on the concept. So what's in the actual book, asks my friend Jeremy. What goes between the goddamn covers? This, I exclaim for perhaps the 40th time in a week. This conversation, these events, this is the book. So if I were to do this, he stands, turns around, and lowers his pants. Exactly, I say. Now that dumb shit you just did is in the book. Footnote. Yeah, fuck you, Jeremy. And footnote to the footnote. That's actually Jeremy's brother right there. Everybody say hi. When I ask my ex-girlfriend, who remains my ongoing love interest, her opinion, she can only respond with, ooh, I want to be in your book. Fine, I say, done. But what do you think of the idea? She ponders this a moment. She and I are exes only in the sense that we no longer live in the same state. Besides that small inconvenience, most of our time together consists of endless prattling conversation and raw animal sex that would frighten any adolescent doing his or her first act of human copulation. Because of these factors, I value her opinion. It's probably already been done, she says. Oh, really? By who? I don't know, she says. Someone's probably thought of that, though. That's not fair. Anyone can think of an idea, I tell her, but it takes balls, brains, and brass to actually execute it. Look, she says, why don't you just relax and let me strip you naked so I can shove your enormous, throbbing man love inside of me until I orgasm so hard and loud that the neighbors call the police and make their children hide in the closet. Footnote, this may be an instance where I'm not quoting as faithfully as I should. See footnote previous page. It's possible she said something more along the lines of, yeah, whatever. Still, despite her best intentions, my love interest has awakened a fear in me that my idea may only be the effluvium of some other writer's better, sharper notion. I quickly make my way to Google, the greatest, creepiest search engine on the internet. Book about publishing a book. Nothing. I try several different approaches, including self-referential publishing book. Nothing still. I move on to Amazon.com. Nothing. I scour the internet, searching in every way I know how for a single author of a single book, anywhere in the world with this same idea. And after an exhausting 12 minutes of work, I come to the only logical conclusion. I am a singular genius with an idea so unique it may very well melt readers' faces the way the Ark of the Covenant did to the Nazis and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Pretty much just as I suspected. Okay, in honor of the Iowa caucuses tonight, I think it's a three-way tie between Santorum, Romney, and Ron Paul. Weirdest threesome ever, right? We're going to go back. This is a flashback to 2006. When I was, after college, I just drove around the country until I ran out of money. So this is, there's some political stuff in here, that's why. But this is me visiting my friend Justin, who was working on a Navajo reservation at the time. I had just left Las Vegas, where I'd managed to rack up a surprisingly small amount of sin, considering the opportunities I had at my disposal. I'd spent the night in the Grand Canyon, wishing I had time to throw in my backpack and venture down into the valley to dip a hand or foot into the snaking Colorado River. But I had to meet Justin, and in the morning I struck out for Many Farms, Arizona, where he was teaching on a Navajo reservation. My drive took me across both the Hopi and Navajo territories, where the desert turns from a drab brown to bright red sandstone that could double for the surface of Mars. Along the way, I saw towns consisting mostly of trailer homes, or dilapidated shacks that were tapestries of junked cars, children's toys, hubcaps, rusted wind chimes clinking in the stillness, Mardi Gras beads hanging from doorknobs, ripped-out motor parts, abandoned tools, and 1,000 other examples of life's trinkets, lost just outside the homes to which they belonged. I knew that across the country, reservations have always been in rough shape, but there's a difference between reading about a thing and actually seeing it. For instance, I knew rampant alcoholism plagued these communities, but that is different from walking into a gas station and seeing that they keep the hairspray behind the cashier's station, along with the cigarettes, because the cans can be cracked open and the liquid cut with water. In a stretch of empty desert, nothing in either direction for miles except rock and sand, I passed a man sitting by the side of the road, thumb cocked back, grinning madly to show off a mouth that looked mostly empty of teeth. He seemed to be shaking. I slowed, naively thinking I might actually stop for this happy drunk, until I saw that in his other hand, he held a spoon. Just a spoon clutched tightly with the concave side facing the sky. I kept driving, and as I passed, I could see he wasn't shaking, but laughing. Many Farms, as Justin had warned me, really was out in the middle of nowhere, in a way that's hard to comprehend until you've driven a straight hour, without seeing enough buildings clustered together to form even the most desolate outpost. When I pulled into the small town, sandwiched between a few mesas, I felt as if I had suddenly landed in Times Square. I parked at the dormitory and wandered over to the high school where 400 Navajo kids get an all-American education. I found Justin in his classroom grading tests. He'd grown a beard. My own hair was shaggy, wind-battered, and 5 months without a cut, so our reunion was one of double takes. I like the growth, I told him. You look like shit, he said. Over the course of the next week, Justin explained the workings of the reservation and the high school, the low graduation rates, the lower college attendance, and the military recruiters who stalked up and down the ranks of young Navajos. I met Justin's roommate, Kevin, who may as well have been the black version of me, or I the white version of him, I guess. The conversation between us might as well have gone like this. Kevin, I like basketball and making sexual references about my friends' mothers. Me. Wait, I like basketball and making sexual references about my friends' mothers. Kevin, the politics of the last 6 years, 2006 remember, have basically turned me into a socialist. I'd like to see our president and most of the cabinet waterboarded until they admit their daddies got them out of facing combat in Vietnam. Me. Let's be friends. Kevin, I talk about sex more or less non-stop. It is on my mind at least every 4th second of every moment of my entire life. Me. While you were saying that, I attained and lost and re-attained an erection based on a picture of a girl I saw in an Abercrombie & Fitch catalog in 1998. Kevin, for as long as we share living quarters, making fun of Justin is my #1 intellectual pursuit. Me. You are dreamy. Footnote. The only time Kevin and I found ourselves in disagreement occurred in a bar when we began talking about Barack Obama. I was of the opinion that Obama had a very serious, very immediate future in politics. My exact words were, the day Barack Obama decides to run is the day we prepare to elect our first black president. Meanwhile, Kevin believed that white America would grow even paler at the prospect of leaving its daughters alone with a black executive. Kevin's exact words were, white people won't vote for him. They say they will, but when it comes down to it and they're faced with a choice between him and some acceptable white Republican like McCain, they're going to bitch out. To which I replied, loudly, drunkenly, don't get me wrong, Kevin. I hate white people with a slow-burning fury that could probably serve as a source of alternative fuel. Kevin, shush me. Dude, look at the people in this bar. We're in goddamn Durango, Colorado. You're going to get me lynched. What? I said, I'm the one who said I hate white people. Yeah, he said, I'm the one who's black. All of this is well and good, enlightening, edifying, and all that. But the highlight of our trip came when Justin, Kevin, and I drove out to Durango, leading another car of their friends. Alone in my car, the two of us, Justin and I, finally took some time to catch up. I filled him in on my trip, and he described his future plans. You have to understand, at this point, life had taken an abrupt turn for both of us. Only months earlier, Justin was all but married to his longtime girlfriend and thinking about moving to Columbus to teach. I was dating my love interest, trying to make amends with her for all my various fuck-ups, and only beginning to understand that I was serious about fleeing madly and recklessly across the country. And there we both were, hauling ass over the mountains and watching the gray sky descend over Shiprock, New Mexico, where millions of years ago an uprising of lava solidified into an enormous rock wall like the gate from Skull Island. Life had seriously jumped the script, but I figured sometimes the script needs a rewrite. I glanced over at Justin, who had his elbow propped on the edge of the window and his Duke hat tucked low over his brow to shade his eyes from the sun. Justin was about the last kid I expected to find on a Navajo reservation in the middle of the desert. He was something like 4th generation Mount Vernon, Ohio. And to look at him and hear that sliver of country in his voice, you never pegged this kid for someone who was looking to challenge his own perceptions of the world. I saw him change in our years at school, and this was the result. Now he talked about the reservation in terms of the graduation rate, stereotypes, economics, alcoholism. Speaking of alcoholism, in Durango we had one of those perfect day-drinking shitfests. We got bloated on Himalayan food and hit the bars to watch the Buckeyes play Illinois. We called some of our buddies back in Ohio, who of course were also drinking and watching the game because that's what Ohio kids do, and in between rounds of 9-ball, I dredged up all the embarrassing stories I could think of for Kevin and Justin's other friends, including the one time he basically said he would bone NBA bench warmer Chris Quinn. Footnote. You remember Quinn from Chapter 7 as the NBA player who we once faced in middle school. Basically, one night during our senior year of high school, a bunch of us were sitting around reminiscing about past athletic glories, at which point Quinn's name came up, and we started making fun of him. So Justin rushed to Quinn's defense, saying, "Come on now, Quinn's a decent ball player. I'll give it to him. I'd give it to Chris Quinn." Try to guess which phrase of Justin's our 18-year-old mind fixated on and found unbearably funny. You guys want to hear something else? I asked the group. Justin used to have this thing he said all the time. He'd always make a statement and then follow it by saying, "True or not?" So, say we'd be talking, and he'd say something like, "The Buckeyes have the best defensive line in college football. True or not?" Kevin laughed at this. I continued. It was like you were on a fucking game show every time he opened his mouth. "Markley, Arizona has some awesome deserts. True or not? Look, Chris Quinn has a long, flavorful penis that would fit nicely in my mouth. True or not?" Every time he said it, we were all like, "I don't know. True, I guess." Everyone was laughing except Justin, which I took as a good sign. I went on. Me and our other buddy Phil used to rag on him so much for it that eventually he stopped saying it altogether. "I am gonna have to remember that," said Kevin. "True or not?" Justin shook his head. "Yeah, Markley, you're fucking hilarious. You're a riot." I offered my beer for a toast. "To our future brides," I said. We clinked glasses. Earlier that day, the two of us had found ourselves standing alone outside of a thrift store while we waited for the others. I had my hands stuffed in my pockets, kicking at the curb like an impatient child, and occasionally brushing the shaggy hair from my eyes. Justin leaned up against the wall, chewing a toothpick to splinters. "Justy," I said. "Markley," he said. Something occurred to me the other day. "What's that?" he asked. I looked off into the deep shadows cast by the western sun. "Well, think about it. When we get married, the two of us have to be each other's best man, because all of our friends have brothers, and brothers get priority for that kind of thing." Justin did think about it. Out loud, we rattled off every one of our good friends from high school through college. "Wow," he said, "you're right." "I know. So the only way we'll get to be the best man in a wedding ever is if we make a pact right now." He nodded his appreciation at this momentous truth. "You're right." He stuck out his hand. "Deal." "I can't believe I agreed to that," said Justin in the bar as we both drained our beers. In an hour, I would be arguing with Kevin about Barack Obama. In a day, I'd be playing my guitar on a quiet street corner in El Paso. In a month, I would be lying in a bed in a cramped apartment in Charlottesville, Virginia, watching the eyes of my love interest flutter as she slept. And in just under a year, I would be standing in the driveway of Justin's grandparents' house in Mount Vernon with my jaw hanging open in shock. But right then, the deal was simple. Just the two of us having a drink, our shit-eating grins on wide display, all that youth and hunger in our eyes. "Justin," I said, "I'm your best man now. True or not?" So this is an author's note. You have to read the rest of the chapter to really get this, but we'll breeze right through it. Backstory, consider yourself filled in. Looks like we covered all our bases and now have an excellent reason to be invested in this unexpected pregnancy, spoiler, in which the author and me is so heavily invested. We've now reached the denouement of the chapter, which will seem completely unrelated to all that we learned previously. It will take place in a different setting, require a different backstory, and involve a different character. Yet the two incidents are related, linked by a common frustration. Because no matter how badly you want to stick to the set of tracks you've chosen, there's always a drunk at the switching station who fell asleep and set you off on another line. Because in the meantime, life goes on. No matter how much you want to stick to the route you planned, with this in mind, I present to you the foreshadowing. After seeing Justin at his grandparents', I drive to Cleveland, obviously unable to stop thinking about this development. One of my best friends in the world is going to be a father. Justin, James, and I have been planning a trip to Europe that summer to backpack for 6 weeks, which is now so obviously out of the question that the question has been changed to some kind of weird floating gerund with a quote mark and a pound sign randomly attached. Footnote. My mom, so you guys still going to this summer? To Europe this summer? Me, cooking, question mark gerund? Okay. Yeah, see that one. It's still tough. He's going to have a kid, like for forever. He'd shown me a picture of the sonogram on his cell phone. He had been sitting in class when Lauren, the girl who was pregnant, sent it to him with a text message, due June 2nd, attached. Footnote. Although reality had deserted me momentarily, thank God my sharp wit did not. Upon seeing this grainy baby-shaped image, I wryly commented, "Well, I can't see his dick, so at least we know it's yours." To which Justin replied, "So predictable, Markley. If it were your kid, I would have come up with a way better small dick joke." This is wild. This is out of bounds. This is one of life's incalculable curveballs that has no precedent. So when you see the pitcher throw it, you can only stand there with your jaw slack and wonder what the hell that was whizzing past you into the catcher's mitt. "Oh, right," you say, "it was a fucking baby." "No," says my love interest when I tell her. "Yes," I say. "No, yes." "Justin?" I know. Man, does my love interest look beautiful. When you go a long time without seeing someone, it's easy to forget the kind of impact those simple features, eyes, nose, mouth, cheeks, hair, can have on you. It's been over 3 months since I last saw her. She has a new haircut. The sleek blonde shortened, revealing her slender neck. Her eyes positively glisten in the light coming through the window. "You look amazing," I told her before dropping the bomb about Justin. "Thanks," she said. She looked me over and shrugged. "You look okay." I grabbed her and pulled her face to mine. "How did it happen?" she asks now. "Well, you see, when a boy and a girl like each other very much..." "Oh," she says, "you're funny. Steve's so funny. He has such good jokes. Why wasn't she on the pill?" "She was on the pill." "No," she says. "Yes." "No." "Yes." "Well," she says, "that's not something a girl likes to hear." I first spotted her at a party in college, and when I caught sight of her eyes like a mojito with a splash of dark rum, and they danced over mine only briefly enough to sell me and move on, I remember thinking that I was going to get this one no matter what, no matter how much I had to lie, cheat, or steal. I pined after her for 2 years before she broke up with her boyfriend, giving me the chance to ask her out. I remember our first date. When the check came, we both reached for it. "No, I got it," I said. "No, come on," she said, reaching into her wallet. "This place is expensive." "Okay, this is the part where I say, no, I got it, and you say, no, come on, let me help out, and we go back and forth for minutes. Let's just cut to it. I'm going to pay for this, and you're going to owe me a sexual favor later." She threw back her head and laughed so hard that people in the restaurant stopped eating to look at her. I knew right then I was onto something. 3 years down a treacherous road, and the exact state of things cannot be quantified or described. I own all of the mistakes made in our relationship beginning in college. Occasionally, I'm aware that I stumbled upon plutonium when I found her. Meanwhile, she bartered for a friend and a partner and got an emotionally selfish and star-crossed love interest who could satisfy her deeply only in the moments when his attention hadn't wandered, when he was behaving himself and trying to scale an outsized temperament back to suit her. After being so reckless with her heart, I hesitated to ask her to insert me back into her life full time, and as long as we didn't live within 1,000 miles of each other, this seemed like the best way. So in the meantime, we'd steal away and see each other. She's my best friend, I realized. The person I've trusted most in my life, even as I proved entirely untrustworthy of her. So we maintained a mirage of a relationship. Casual is the word. Fleeting weekends and road trips. How do you define something like that? So you once shared a joint with her and laughed uproariously at the television because Don Henley kept singing the same ridiculous lyric over and over again on an ancient episode of Saturday Night Live? So she once made you laugh until your stomach hurt when, the first time she ever undid your belt, she had the audacity and comic timing to say, "Ah, great, now you're going to tell all your friends I'm a big slut." So you showed up at her door unexpectedly in Charlottesville a year earlier when she thought you were in San Antonio, and she was so surprised she couldn't stop shaking, that she still had the audacity and comic timing to point to her gym outfit and say, "Well, I hadn't planned on ruining this moment by sweating balls in this outfit, but now that I have, I've got to say, this should teach you a lesson." So she challenges you, and goads you into the uncomfortable realization that life is infinitely more complicated than you ever could have imagined. "What are you thinking about?" she asks me, as we sit on the couch in her living room. And because it's easier, and often the truth, I say, "You sitting on my face." She nods. "It's good. I've trained you well." 2 years spent pulling visits to each other's respective locations whenever we had the time and financial wherewithal. Visits that only protract and worsen this strange limbo. When we part, we are both back to our vague, difficult realities. We are college graduates of an uncertain generation, and the world we live in is not the one we expected from our childhoods. Thank you.